Hey there. Oops, let's not do that. Okay. So, if you are one of the few people who might even be ever tuning into this, welcome back to my Edge of the Empire Solitaire RPG campaign here. This is episode 15. Now, when basically this, I don't know, there's a few things that kind of been thinking about just regarding this campaign that I wanted to just kind of think about here or put down on the video. A few things I'm not doing well. One, I've got some process, kind of the game loop, adventure loop, whatever, a little screwed up. Because one thing I'm not doing at the end of every scene is coming over here to my adventures list and updating all the threads. I'm good about, I don't know why that looks weird, but I'm good about at the end of the, throughout the session, kind of adding to the characters list. This should probably be pared down a little bit. There's things in here that don't really kind of play into the game as much right now. Lauren Voss probably will not play in again. Zurich Brask possibly. Vex on possibly. We got some others that may or may not kind of factor in. However, there is only so much room in the characters list, so this eventually has to kind of be pared down. Maybe I'll just let it get filled out before I decide to pare it down, because I kind of like the idea of a whole ton of different characters or elements that can be introduced. At the end of a scene, when it comes to Mythic, actually I haven't even got my binder out yet, I should probably do that. So at the end of a scene with Mythic, something I'm not doing is you're supposed to do your end of scene bookkeeping, right? So you edit the list elements. This is basically, and you adjust the chaos factor. Chaos factor I'm good with. I think maybe I've missed it once or twice in the last 14 episodes. But one thing I don't do is update the threads list and see kind of what's been dealt with, what hasn't. So our threads list actually does need to be updated because Professor Vexar has moved on. So we need to take him out. Now, I'm not entirely sure, but I believe what I need to do from there is take these and move them up. I don't actually know if that is the proper way to deal with things, but I'm going to guess yes, probably. I don't think we want them spread out all over the place. I just like I also like them tidy, so I mean, if they can fit within one aspect of the threads list, cool, so then I know I'm just rolling a d10 for them all, instead of, say, like a d4, 6, 8, or 10, or whatever, to figure out which one, and then maybe I'm rolling a 2, 4, 6, 8, or 10, whatever. So I kind of want to just clean things up a little bit. I don't know if that is correct. Probably. Maybe. But that's what I'm going to do. Okay, so I have not been updating my threads list. I need to start doing that at the end of every scene. I kind of get maybe a little too focused on heading into the next scene. Alright. So, in our last session here, we had, I believe we only had 3 scenes? Yeah, so we started with scene 25. We kind of hit the landing bay in Cloud City, and I really didn't want to deal with a whole lot of crap there. I really just kind of wanted to move on, forget about the last session's, bit of a clusterfuck, have to get things repaired, move on, and through all of that, we also kind of had the departure of Professor Vexar, who had had enough of everything, pretty much related to the to everything going on the Driftwood. There he is, surrounded by criminals, terrorists, I suppose, technically speaking, insurrectionists anyway, and criminals, and probably feeling like he's in constant danger wasn't helping. And the absolute last straw, which I've kind of felt would probably be enough to push Vexar off the ship. And it's too bad. He could have become maybe a interesting crew member or something in time, but unfortunately it didn't work out that way. So Vexar paid his fare to Jax, and that gave Jax enough cash to become broke again, because basically we over the next few days not only did LSR, part of Camino Squad, deal with fixing all the little issues, making sure the deflector shield dish, shield deflector dish was realigned, making sure all the cables that to the Navi computer were all reconnected and not loose and such. But I also had some cash, so we upgraded the Driftwood hyperdrive to a class 1, which will allow us to move a lot quicker through the galaxy. Okay. Additionally, we also purchased supplies and refueled, which is great now because now we can move a lot quicker. We're gonna waste like half as much. We're gonna spend half as much fuel getting around to places, really. And then on Scene 26, we traveled to Endor. And once again, I blew the astrogation roll. It was a failure. It was a zero success, zero failure kind of thing. But that makes it a failure. But I did roll 2 advantage, so I decided basically what happened was the travel in hyperspace was 25% longer. So instead of the 4 days it should have taken with a class 1, it took 5 days, which is still a lot quicker than if he still just had his class 2. Now the drop off on Endor did not end up with us landing on Endor as I initially thought it would back when I was still kind of we were in the earlier sessions for this particular scenario. Instead, they came out of hyperspace to find a ship that we later determined was called Alignac, and captained by a female Twi'lek named Syracuse. There we go. She's kind of like a former smuggler now working with some element of the insurrectionists out there. And meanwhile, however, when it seemed that there was a problem because when the Driftwood arrived, the crew of the Lignac were not responding to hails. It was soon determined that they were still alive. We could see the Twi'lek captain waving from the cockpit. But they pretty much got locked out of their main computer. I didn't really want to deal with this too much, so Camino Squad kind of went over to deal with the problem, use their communicators to basically radio back to Jax that it was probably going to take about 5 hours to deal with. And there we are, though. Now, right at the end of the session, we determined that the obligations were going to come into play this session, and 2, Kay knows where they are. She knows this is home, or what used to be her home. So, we're going to just kind of jump back in here. We are on a chaos factor of 5. I'm assuming this is going to be transferring the cargo. We're going to test the scene, though. We're going to kind of try to do things a little properly here. Test the scene with a D10 at the 2. Okay, so that is definitely... that is an interrupt scene. So the interrupt scene... so we're going to need to generate a random event. So... just kind of flip over here. Random event. Okay, we're going to roll in the random event focus table. $48, which is NPC positive. Now, which NPC are we going to be talking about? So here we're going to want... I need a D6 to start with, because we're going to kind of figure out our characters list here. 1. So we're going to be on the first section, which is D10. 1. K. Okay, hey, that's cool. So this is NPC positive for K. Alright, what could this potentially be? So NPC pause. You want to shift the focus of your adventure onto an NPC right now, maybe to develop new storylines in your adventure. All right, cool. We'll just kind of roll on our meaning tables. 18, which gives us change on action 1 and action 2. 67 gives us change path. Ooh. Well, this could be interesting. So, this is going to be an interrupt scene, but I think the transfer of the cargo is going to continue. So the question is kind of what happened. Change path. Kay has been on a path with Jax. Changing that path, maybe Kay's ready to go home. Let's let the fates decide. Fate chart, we're on chaos factor of 5. Is Kay ready to go home? Let's roll it. That's a 44. Yes, Kay is ready to go home. Okay, so Return of the Ewok. There we go. Scene 28. Return of the Ewok. While Jax is prepping, so here we go. So Jax and Camino Squad are preparing to transfer cargo to the Alignac. Meanwhile, Kay is Kay's kind of sitting there, you know, so we're going to kind of switch to her perspective a little bit, right? She's sitting there with her little furry hands kind of behind her head as she's kind of with her, got her little feet kicked up. You know, she's leaning way forward so she can actually put her feet up on the yoke from the co-pilot seat, and she's just kind of looking, looking kind of sadly out towards out the front of the cockpit, beyond where there's the personnel carrier ship, where slowly Camino Squad and Jax are moving, through space, kind of, pushing crates of cargo out the airlock and kind of, maneuvering them across carefully to, they'd be on repulsors, right? So carefully across, between the driftwood and the Alignac, over and over again, getting all the guns off the ship, all the blaster rifles that have been, stolen or purchased by Camino Squad. I can't remember whether we ever figured that out. I don't think we did. Jax just knows that they've got them. As they're doing that, Kay's kind of looking up at looking out beyond the green and blue, especially green of the forest moon of Endor. She's thinking to herself how much she misses home when things were so much simpler then. How in the world she exactly got this, we never did really figure this out. This is still something that maybe we're not quite ready to decide on, but or maybe I am. So she's thinking about her home life, thinking about her family, her parents, her siblings. The simpler life in the clean air of Endor, at least clean for now, in a few more years, thinking about, the dangers of the planet, the giant spiders and the lizards that, and the other creatures on the planet that the Ewoks contend with. Endor is not the safe paradise that it may appear to be at first. There are a lot of dangers in the on that planet, on the moon. I don't know whether they consider the Ewok movie, like the TV movies, the Ewok TV movies. I don't know whether they consider them canon these days or not. Maybe not. Probably not. But I'll consider that all some of the creatures and such that are found there are probably on the planet of Endor, the forest moon of Endor, I should say. So let's even just kind of do a quick look. How do we kind of really describe Endor? Because I think Endor is kind of a moon without a planet kind of thing. Ninth moon that orbit the outer rim planet of the same name. Yeah, so we got a few species here. I think all of those come from the Ewok movies, because I don't think Endor's really ever, had anything else. Two suns, a remote moon, yeah, okay. For some reason I thought that originally Endor was kind of like a lost moon kind of thing floating around, but apparently it actually orbits. So the forest moon of Endor, that's right, they do have called, it's the way they often kind of referred to it, but oh, there we go, that's it. Endor the planet is a gas giant. Okay, I gotcha. Cool, okay. So the moon itself is just one of several. So there is a full system there. There's a gas giant. The Ewoks live a simpler life, and while she's kind of daydreaming, Kay thinks back to hunting in the wilds of the Endor jungles, and she gets a little melancholy, a little sad, and Jax ends up taking a bit of a break from moving cargo because he's not out and about pushing the cargo through. He's the smuggler. He's delivering, right? He's providing the transportation for these guys, and he comes up to find Kay, kind of going, and he looks down at her, and he goes, "Everything okay, Kay? You doing all right?" And she looks up, and she says something in Ewok. She kind of doesn't. Does Kate understand a little bit of the basic tongue? Yeah, I think so at this point. But Jax has made no attempt whatsoever to figure out her language. That's not his strength. He's not really focused on that. It's unfortunate. It would be nice to have a protocol droid that speaks a few billion forms of communication or something. But in this case, she just kind of looks up. And she points out. And at first, Jax thinks that she's pointing towards the ship, the Captain Kirthy's ship. But he goes, "Don't worry, we'll be on our way shortly. They just need to finish moving everything over. Just a couple more crates." And she looks up and she just kind of shakes her head and just shifts where she's pointing and stabs kind of with her one of her furry fingers, and then he realizes it's beyond the ship, and he looks and it's the forest moon that she's pointing at, and he says, he follows her gaze and he points out as well, "The moon? What about it?" And she puts her. And she kind of motions to herself, motions back at the moon. Is Jax gonna figure this out? Does Jax get it? Because we're in from Kay's perspective this time. So does she get it? Does he get it? I'm gonna give it actually, I'm gonna say likely. I think he maybe gets it. He's never been sure where Kay's from, and maybe this is the first time she's probably shown this kind of sensitive side. 34. Yeah. No, Jax definitely gets it. It's like, this is where you're from. This is your home. Ichiwawa. Yeah. She makes a little nod. I don't know any other words in Ewok. I can't remember much from Return of the Jedi in terms of what some of the little phrases they say. But absolutely yes. She nods. And he's like, do you miss it? Do you want to go visit? Do you want to go home? She looks up again. Like, you're tired of my company? You want to take a little vacation? All right, Kay, look. This is your home. This is where you want to be. I'm going to miss you, but I'll take you home and I'll come visit, all right? And she kind of sighs again. And she puts her feet back on the chair and picks herself up so she's sitting a little straighter. And she just kind of gives him a little salute, almost, you know. So there we go. All right, there we go. So we're gonna end the scene there. Oops. All right. Cool. We're gonna want to move on. I actually think the chaos factor is gonna drop one more because that seemed like things were fairly in control there. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna put that the other way. Jax was not in control. Jax got sidelined or sideswiped basically with something he was not expecting at all. So yeah, no, he's a little concerned here. Okay, scene 29. So the scene 29, I'm thinking, scene 29, I'm thinking is Camino Squad kind of completing its objective here. And maybe Jax kind of taking Kay to the surface of the moon, taking her home. So let's test the scene. One, let's go back here quickly. So our adventure lists, we delivered the guns. Actually, we did. So we should need to update our threads list at the end of that scene. Yeah, we actually delivered the cargo. We still have the kyber crystals in the hold, but we're kind of reducing our threads list a little bit. Actually, I think we can say we can. I think we can say we've got a new thread, actually. Take Kay home. That's something that's got to happen here. So I think what the next scene is likely to be here. Let's just kind of come back to our threads here. I think our next scene is... thinking that's what we're dealing with. However, we're going to test the scene. I've increased the chaos factor back to 6. So this could change. Let's test the scene. Okay, we're going to test the scene. Whoops. I just tossed that die right off, but we rolled an 8. Okay, there we go. I kind of bounced out of my little dice tray here. So we rolled an 8. That is going to mean the scene is going to go on as normal. I want to kind of name my scenes somehow. So we still need to worry about the obligation at some point here, but basically, at the very least, the obligation is that even if we don't get to something specific about it, we know that his strain is actually reduced by 2. Actually, let's just we know his threshold is reduced by 2, not just his strain. The threshold itself is reduced by 2. Okay. With the last bit of cargo, the last crate being repulsored through space between the driftwood and the Alignac. The other clone troopers have already kind of transferred over to the Alignac to accompany the cargo, or to accompany the cargo, or kind of make their way elsewhere. They probably have other things that they need to do with the insurrection. But it's Captain Zai who's still there. All right, so Captain Zai finds Jax in the cockpit. He's still sitting there, and he's kind of trying to communicate a little bit more with Kay about kind of what their plans are. And Zai pops his head in. Hey, am I interrupting? Jax looks up. No, come on in. How's the transfer going? Yeah, it's all loaded there, Captain. We're ready to push off. Well, it's been a pleasure doing business with you guys. And Jax stands up and he holds out his hand to shake. Zai takes his hand, and with the other hand takes a little pouch, and he says, "That should cover our bill." And while shaking Zai's hand, Jax reaches over with his left hand and takes the what presumably is a pouch full of credits, and just kind of tosses it back onto his captain's chair. He clasps both hands, but both of Zai's hands in his one, and he says, "You guys are going to be okay. Everything's settled. You've got your ride with Kirthi." "Yeah, Jax, we're all set here. We got another mission for the well, I don't want to go into any more details than I have to. Let's just say I got another mission to help bring back the Republic. Or that would be the ultimate goal." It's like, well, it can't be worse than the Empire, so it's got to be an improvement. I wish you luck, and if you need anything else, you let me know. I'd be happy to help. "Yeah, you're a good man. You're a good man. We're gonna be in touch again at some point." And with that, Zai takes his leave. A few minutes later, after Zai has managed to, push himself through space, breathing mask on, back over to the Alignac, there's just kind of a brief little communication over the open waves. "Captain Jax, this is Captain Kirthi once again. We are on our way out. You take care. We'll be in touch again." And Jax just kind of waves out the cockpit, hits the communication button. "You take care, Captain. We'll see you again." And a minute or so later, the Alignac personnel carrier kind of turns, getting further away from where Jax is, and further away from the moon, and suddenly there's this bolt, and it jumps to hyperspace, and it's gone. Okay. right. At which point Jax kind of looks down at Kay and says, "You're absolutely sure you wanna do this?" And she just looks up and nods. Jax kind of puts himself down, sits down again after taking the credits out, and opening the pouch quickly. Yep, it's filled with credits. And he sits that kind of down beside his captain's chair, and punches up the sublight engines, and pushes the throttle forward as then the driftwood starts to head towards the forest moon of Endor. All right, I think that's where scene 29 is going to have to end. All right, I'm thinking we're kind of in control of that, so I believe we're going to just drop the chaos factor again to 5. And I think we're kind of coming to the end of the Tatooine job here. Oops, sorry, I need to... I think I see where this is probably going. Probably. We're going to test the scene again. So, end of scene, we got threads to clear up, maybe. Do we have threads to clean up? Nope, nope, no. Everything, this is kind of our next focus here. Awesome. Okay, now, do we have Camino Squad in here? We got the Alignat crew in here as well. Okay, great. So our characters list is fairly up to date, I believe. Scene 30, we're going to test the scene. Roll D10. Chaos factor of 5, we rolled 6. We're good. Scene's going to go off as planned, which is essentially... I see it, we're not, I see it as... Jax and Kay arrive in a small Ewok village in the Forest Moon's jungle. Kay is finally returned home. This is the way I kind of see this going. So, we fast forward a little bit. We're not going to deal with the landing. We open up again on a scene with Kay now with with her spear in her hand and carefully trudging through the jungle, but knowing, very clearly knowing what she's doing. Jax being the one who's like a little more out of his element. We kind of open up on the scene of them marching through the jungle, Kay stopping every once in a while to look up, making sure that they're not about to, be surprised by one of the many wild animals on the moon. Oops. Okay, so the question is, are they surprised by any local wildlife? I'm thinking they've probably landed fairly close to one of the villages, so I'm thinking the answer is probably unlikely, but that doesn't mean, it's not impossible here. Are they surprised by something? We're on a chaos factor of 5. Unlikely. Roll the dice. 27. Yes. They are going to be surprised by something. Alright, what do we got here? So if we kind of flip back to Endor here, what do we got? Sorry, we'll go back to the Forest Moon here. So, of course, this is Wikipedia. Dulocs. What do we have in terms of native species here? Not overly helpful. Alright, let's go like here. Is it, we'll just call these 50-50 here. Is it one of the races of... Is it one of the races of, basically one of the alien races that exist on the Forest Moon? one of these. We'll just call these 50/50s. What do we got here? 99. Absolutely not. That means it's going to be one of the creatures here. Is it a large creature? No. No, it's not. It's going to be a smaller creature. What do we have in terms of smaller creatures? What's a teak? Oh, these are sentient. No, I think these are actually all, for the most part, the Gorhaks, yeah. I think these are all kind of more or less sentient species again. We're gonna we're gonna just go with it here. It's a small creature. Is it dangerous? I'm thinking this time it's very unlikely. 99 again. Yeah, absolutely, it is not dangerous at all. Does it fly? 50/50. Yes, yes, it flies. As they get here, I think I got to figure it out here. So as they get closer to the village, Kay stops upon hearing the loud fluttering of wings, and she looks up to see to see like a whole bunch of, like a flock of leathery winged, creatures about, say like about half a meter or so in size. Oops. Flying through the upper jungle treetop. It's not a very good way to say it. They're not dangerous though, so it's only kind of a pause. And when she holds her spear, just keeping an eye out, and when she brings her gaze back down, there are a bunch of Ewoks that have, standing, kind of spread out through the jungle ahead of them. And Jack stops, looks, his hand instinctively drops to his blaster, at which point he notices there's a couple of the Ewoks on to the right and the left, drawing back on bows that are aimed right at him. And Kay starts, shouting something. Jax has no idea exactly what, but those who are kind of drawing on their bowstrings relax a little bit and let the point of the arrow drop. At which point Jax kind of brings his hands up. It's like he's going, "All right, little guys, no violence. No, I'm not going to hurt you." They have no idea what he's saying, but one of them is chittering back and forth with Kay, who clearly Jax realized that Kay has explained to them that he's not to be killed. He's that Jax is safe. Jax is not an enemy. Jax is making sure now they really understand that by keeping his hands up and well away from that blaster pistol. At which point, the chittering finally stops, and one of them, kind of a brown-haired Ewok with like little white stripes, kind of across, kind of does this, follow me kind of thing, and Jax lets his hand slowly come down a little bit. Again, not going for his blaster. But Kay starts following, and all the Ewoks kind of turn and start walking. A couple of them keep kind of looking back at Jax, maybe a little suspiciously there, but not that they're about to skewer him with arrows or the spears that the non-archers are carrying. And they lead them through the jungle, and eventually it just kind of opens up on a a they suddenly stop, and Jax realizes they've stopped at like what is essentially a tree ladder, like a ladder made of vines, like old vines, well wrapped, well tight. And he looks up, and up above he can see way up in the jungles, in the trees there, in the jungle of the forest moon, walkways. And are those dwellings? Or is that a Ewok house? Yes, it probably is. I'm just going to update things here. I'm pretty sure that's kind of how things work. And then they're led to a... Jax looks up, and it's a long climb. And he looks down at Kay. Kay! He gets her attention. She looks back. He goes, "You live up there?" And she just kind of gives a nod. You're braver than I thought, and I know you're brave. I know you've got guts, but wow. Kay, maybe this is where we need to say goodbye. And she stops it. Already the other Ewoks are starting to kind of hand over hand climb up the vine ladders back up to the Ewok village way above. And Jax kind of gets down on his knee, getting himself kind of a little more, not quite eye to eye, still still a little taller, but closer to it. And he's like, "Look, I get it. This is your home. Anytime you want to get out of here, though, you are welcome back on the ship. I'm gonna miss you." And he kind of gives her a bit of a hug, and she, reciprocates, of course, with her little fuzzy bear arms. And he's like, "I'm going to come back to visit. Right? It may be a little while, but I'm going to come back. Like me, you, we're friends, always. And I'm going to come back to check on you." In part because he also still has an obligation. We kind of go all the way back here. He's got a sense of responsibility to take care of Kay. This could possibly count as a... I have to think about that, because this could also possibly count as kind of fulfilling that obligation. He's kept her safe. He's brought her home. In fact, you know what? It probably does, but I don't know if I really want to pull Kay completely out of the campaign yet. But we'll think about that. So Jax says his goodbyes to Kay and begins the march back to the ship. Wow, that was quite the scene there, isn't it? Okay. Our next scene, I believe, would be, so our next scene here would be scene 31. But you know what? Actually, I think that's wrong. I don't think there's going to be a scene 31 for this particular scenario. I think we're going to... Jax has a... Actually, just a sec here. Jax has his thoughts on the bounty on his head. Jax wasn't really in control of that, so I'm going to say we're going to pop back up to Chaos Factor 6 here. So with the thoughts of the bounty on his head, he knows he needs to deal with it. I think that's where we're going to kind of have to end things here. I think I am going to update this. I think I am going to update our obligation here. The sense of responsibility for K is gone. We're going to take that out, and instead we're going to put the bounty in here. So we're just going to kind of modify things here, and we know that this is going to be now 0, 1 to 20 again. And we've, yeah, I honestly, oops, what in the hell happened here? Not entirely sure how I screwed all that up. Just kind of this. Take this out. I must have screwed up the formatting. There, I'll be a little more careful there, I suppose. Okay. And here. Okay, there we go. Yeah, we're going to need to make an obligation roll. This time we're only at, we got 20% here. That's going to be 64. So no, for next time we got nothing. So next time we'll just kind of start setting up. I don't know when this will be. But there we go. Yeah, I think that's where we're just going to end right there with the kind of the conclusion of the Tatooine job, ending with Kay returning to the Forest Moon to be with her people again. I wasn't really expecting that to happen. So I guess that's the kind of thing that can happen with well, when you're doing solitaire RPGs and using an oracle. That's a little weird. So let's just kind of jump back into here, our adventure list. We've completed that. It's over. We're running a little low on our threads now, so we got 4 threads. We still owe Gruck 50,000 credits. We got to pay back Black Sun for their help, so at some point they're going to call on Jax for a favor. There's the Hut bounty on Jax's head, and then there's still those Kyber crystals in the cargo hold to be dealt with, so we still got a bunch of things that we can be taking care of. Jax, if we come back here, I had campaign important things here. So Jax, 9750, that's how many credits he was paid. Credit log, 9750, payment from see up here, I've screwed this up. That should be Zai of Camino Squad. Thank you very much. Alright, that's cool. So that actually is going to put Jax in a much better way, financially speaking. He still doesn't have enough cash to pay Gruck back, and I'm sure he'll go up and down before he gets his 50,000 credits, if he ever gets that. But we're also going to be adding a few more experience points. Again, I do 2 per half hour, and we are just about an hour here. Close enough, I'm going to call it, especially since this is completing a job. Wow, yeah, okay, well, I'm a little sad to see our little Ewok companion go, but at the same time, I don't think she was getting enough screen time. She wasn't getting enough. She wasn't getting enough attention for it to really be a good, viable sidekick. So now Jax is on his own again. After months of having his Ewok companion, Kay, she's in the wind. Now, I think we're going to come back to Kay at some point, but this is kind of where we're going to end things for now. And that'll also end the obligation there that Jax has. He's kind of passed it on. It's no longer something of importance in his, or no longer something of importance in his life to be constantly trying to protect Kay. In fact, we can even take. We can probably even switch over to the GM side here. Nope, where am I on? Map side. And take Kay out of the party, essentially. I notice I have not updated that. I'll have to update this, because that is not correct. Let's just take that out of there. Ooh. Try that again. Put that here. Now that's probably not going to stay. It's probably not going to be true for much longer there. So, and with that, that'll be the end of episode 15 of my Edge of the Empire Solitaire campaign. Until next time. Possibly still before the end of the year, possibly in the new year. May the Force be with you.